Hi, my name is Matt, and I'm 25 years old. I'm going to tell you some really weird stuff that I experienced over the past few months. Before I get into the details, though, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to show us your support. So, it all started when I got a new job about 6 months ago. There was a reason that I resigned from my previous job. I used to date one of my coworkers named Natasha. It was all great fun until I found out her truth. She'd been lying to me the whole time. She wasn't even my coworker. In fact, she didn't even have a job. She had faked everything just to get close to me. I was really creeped out by how she was able to infiltrate the company and pretend to be an employee there. Honestly, it was partially our manager's fault. He was a lazy, absent-minded guy. It was only when the higher-ups paid us a visit that we got to know Natasha's truth. She really had all of us fooled. "Why did you even do that?" I asked her after everything was revealed. "Well, I'd been observing you for quite some time, and I really wanted to talk to you," she replied as if it was no big deal. "You see, I've always liked you, Matt. I still do." I took a step away from her. Observing me? Were you stalking me, Natasha? Wait, is Natasha even your real name? "Yes, Natasha is my real name," she immediately said. "I know it looks like I stalked you, but trust me, I just wanted to get close." There was a whole lot of drama after that, and Natasha was even arrested. But after talking it out with my colleagues and with the company's agreement, I decided to give her another chance. Not a chance as in dating her again. No, that was out of the question. I let her go with a warning. "Don't ever try to follow me or talk to me again," I told her. "I'm kind enough to not sue you. Just get out of sight and maybe find a job, a real one." Well, that was the last time I talked to her. She had begged and cried, but I couldn't see myself with her. After that incident, I resigned from my job. That company was no good. Natasha had been there quite some time, and they didn't even know she was a fake. Plus, I was worried about my security. I decided it was better just to move and get a new job. And that's how I got this job, at a multinational company. My boss, Ruby, was a really good-looking, smart woman. She was nothing like my previous manager, and that gave me a lot of relief. She was strict with deadlines and performance, and could be gentle and kind when needed. What I'm trying to say is that she had all the qualities of a boss, and I really liked her. I mean, not romantically, of course. My job was treating me really well, and all my coworkers were warm and welcoming. One of my colleagues, Olivia, was really kind to me in particular. She'd made sure that I didn't face any problems in learning the new stuff and even helped me mingle with the others. It was because of Olivia that I often went to dinners with my colleagues after work. She would always invite me. And when I wasn't able to join her for some reason, she would wait for me. Yes, this is exactly what it looks like. I think it's safe to say that both of us liked each other, but neither of us ever admitted it out loud. I wasn't ready for a relationship anyway. My memories of Natasha were still fresh in my mind, and I wanted to spend some more time with Olivia before getting into anything serious. One day, Ruby called me to her cabin and told me that I was to join her for a business trip. "Sure," I replied. "Who else is coming?" She frowned at me. "No one. But if you want, we can bring one more employee." Well, I wasn't about to let that opportunity pass. I suggested Olivia's name, and Ruby gave me a weird look. "Why her?" she asked seriously. Because she was the one who mostly helped me with the reports and presentations, so she knows the best," I said nervously. Ruby nodded. "Okay, fine then." And that is how 2 days later we were seated on a 17-hour flight together. I realized something was wrong the moment I arrived at the airport. We were taking a company's private airplane, so there was no one else in the flight besides Ruby, Olivia, the air hostess, and me. Awkward doesn't even begin to cover it. I was stuck in a seat between Ruby and Olivia. We had to sit like that because we had to discuss some things on the documents. But this was hella uncomfortable. Not to mention, I couldn't spot a single guy on the flight. And the air hostesses were super flirty. One of them came to ask us if we wanted anything. She brought everything that I had asked for, but when Olivia asked for something, she refused rudely. "So, how about a sandwich?" Olivia asked her. "You just brought one for Matt. I'm sure you have more." "Sorry, that was the last sandwich we had," the hostess replied. Ruby snorted. "Looks like you'll have to starve, Olivia." My eyes widened. Why was Ruby being like this? I shook my head and offered my own sandwich to Olivia. She refused at first, but had to take it when I insisted. Ruby rolled her eyes and ordered her own food. The hostess didn't refuse this time. It was clear that she was afraid of the boss. But seriously, what the hell was happening? Was this even allowed? A few hours later, Olivia fell asleep on my shoulder. Ruby noticed and gave her a very displeased look. Do you have something against Olivia?" I asked her. "It seems like you're not too fond of her." Ruby averted her gaze and stared out the window. "Let's just say I don't exactly get along with her." I didn't ask anything else. It seemed like they shared a history, and I didn't want to ruin the mood right now. Later, the air hostess, whose name I didn't bother to memorize, came back with a tea. She was passing the cup to Ruby when Olivia suddenly pushed her hand and the tea spilt all over Ruby. She shrieked, and I gave her a panicked look. "Oh God, you need to wash up with cold water or it'll burn," I said, and immediately got up to lead her to the washroom. Olivia grabbed my hand before I could leave, though. I turned to her in question. "Where are you going?" she asked. "I think Ruby can clean up the mess herself, so why don't you sit down?" Was she for real? Ruby glared at her and left for the washroom while I stared at Olivia in disbelief. "Did you do that on purpose?" I asked. "What?" she asked innocently. "You spilled the tea on purpose," I said. "I was watching everything. You raised your hand unnecessarily." Olivia shrugged. "Maybe I did it on purpose. But so what? Didn't you see the way she was mocking me earlier? I was just giving her what she deserved." "How old are you, Olivia?" I exclaimed in disbelief. "What you just did was really immature. I don't know what's going on between the two of you, but you could have ended up seriously hurting her." I had never expected this from Olivia. She'd always been so kind and angelic. Now I was seeing a completely different side of her. "Why do you care?" she muttered. "What?" "Why do you care whether she gets hurt or not?" she asked. "It's called basic humanity," I replied. "But seriously, it feels like I'm wasting my time talking to you." By then, Ruby returned. She had changed her dress. I asked her if she was okay, and she nodded. Then she turned to glare at Olivia. "I will let this one go," Ruby said. "But if you ever pull that kind of stunt again, I will fire you without a second thought. You better learn to differentiate between your personal and professional matters." While all of this was happening, the hostess who brought the tea was standing in a corner smirking to herself. I shot her a look and she immediately sobered up. I'm pretty sure she would have spilled the tea herself, even if Olivia hadn't pushed her. What a weirdo. I couldn't wait for this flight to end. We weren't even halfway, and I was already exhausted. I don't know when I dozed off, but when my eyes opened, I saw that Olivia and Ruby had moved to different seats. I finally had some breathing space. I was about to do some stretching when an air hostess walked up to me. "Hi, Matt. Long time no see," she said. I looked up to see her face, and my body completely froze. What the hell was Natasha doing here?